Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. In the past 48 hours, we've had some pretty interesting developments in regards to the implementation of a gold-backed ruble or a Russian gold standard. Vladimir Putin's press secretary came out on Friday and told reporters that the idea is being discussed at the highest levels within the Kremlin. We also had another high-ranking Russian official come out in an interview and essentially advocate for the idea of backing up the ruble with gold and a basket of commodities. And if you've read Zoltan Poszar's article, Bretton Woods 3, this is exactly what he said was on the way. However, there also has been some pushback from the head of the Russian central bank. And of course, any move towards a gold-backed ruble will be a significant move in the battle of de-dollarization. And it will also have some serious implications for the price of precious metals, gold and silver, moving forward. And we're going to talk about all of that in today's video, so let's get to it. Okay, so here's the headline that we got from Reuters on Friday. Putin discussing pegging the ruble to gold, Kremlin says. And this is how the article starts off. Russian President Vladimir Putin is discussing the idea of pegging the ruble to gold and other goods. The Kremlin said on Friday, a move that, if approved, would directly link Russia's currency to bullion for the first time in more than a century. And the person who actually leaked this information to the press was Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, who said on a conference call with reporters that this question is being discussed with Putin. And this is Dmitry Peskov here, and this guy has been Vladimir Putin's press secretary for over a decade, so I do suspect that he has a pretty good finger on the pulse of what is going on inside of the Kremlin. And then here also you'll see that the article mentions a powerful Russian security official said this week linking the ruble to bullion could give Russia more sovereignty over its financial system, which has been battered by Western sanctions since Moscow sent troops into Ukraine on February 24th. That is referencing this interview here that this guy, Nikolai Patrushev, who is the secretary of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, gave to RG, or the Rossiyskaya Gazeta, and I'm probably saying that wrong, but that is a Russian state-published newspaper. This is a Google translated version of that story, so bear with me here as I read through some of this. It's a lengthy interview, and obviously this is just state propaganda, so take all of this with a pretty large grain of salt, but this is the part that is relevant to gold. This was in response to this question, and what do we need to ensure the sovereignty of the ruble? In response, Patrushev answered, for the sovereignization of any national financial system, its means of payment must have intrinsic value and price stability, not being tied to the dollar. Now experts are working on a project proposed by the scientific community to create a dual-loop monetary and financial system. In particular, it is proposed to determine the value of the ruble, which should be backed by both gold and a group of goods that are currency values, to put the ruble exchange rate in line with the real purchasing power parity. And at this point, many of you are probably familiar with this document titled Bretton Woods 3 by Credit Suisse's Zoltan Poszar, where he forecast that we were on the verge of a new monetary order centered around commodity-based currencies in the East. So, we may be seeing that play out. And back to this article from RG, the follow-up question to that one about the sovereignty of the ruble was, similar ideas have been voiced before. However, a number of experts stated that they run counter to the conclusions of economic theory, to which Patrushev responded, they do not run counter to the conclusions of economic science, but run counter to the conclusions of Western economics textbooks. Okay, but there is actually some pushback in Russia. The head of Russia's central bank, Elvira Nabiullina, she told reporters that the idea of a gold-backed ruble was not being discussed in any way. And of course, it's not really surprising that a central banker would probably push back against this idea, because a gold-backed currency, of course, would constrain the bank's ability to manipulate the currency supply and play all those games that central bankers like to play these days. But clearly, this is being discussed on some level at the Kremlin, or we wouldn't have heard about it from Dmitry Peskov. So, maybe all of the players involved are not on the side of a gold-backed ruble, but it is certainly at least on the table. And this is all coming at a time that Russia is facing significant economic uncertainty. They are certainly feeling some pain from the sanctions that have been imposed on them. This is an article from El País, a Spanish newspaper, about some warnings that the head of the Russian central bank has issued recently. Here's a quote from her. Nabiullina emphasized that the economy is far from returning to normal and that the period when the economy has been able to live on the reserves is over. In the second quarter or at the beginning of the third, we will enter a phase of structural transformation. And then also that, in her opinion, sanctions affected financial markets at first, but now they will start to affect sectors of the real economy more and more. But who knows, maybe an economic crisis might be a good time to implement a massive change like backing the currency with gold. And I do suspect that if we see a conflict between Vladimir Putin and the Russian central bankers, that more than likely Vladimir Putin is going to come on top and he's going to get his way because, in the West, the government might be somewhat beholden to banking interests, but I don't think that that is the case in Russia or in China for that matter. And, this isn't really the first that we have heard of this idea of a Russian gold ruble peg. Back at the beginning of April, Russia had begun purchasing gold at a fixed price in rubles. But then just a couple weeks after they announced that, the ruble had some significant appreciation and they scrapped that plan and they began making their purchases at a negotiable variable rate. So, again, this isn't the first time we have heard of this, although this is the first time we've really heard about actually backing the ruble with gold, because that gold purchase agreement that they had entered into was really more of like a soft peg. You couldn't get a fixed amount of gold for your rubles. It was the other way around. But looks like maybe moving forward, we may see some actual gold backing of the ruble. And if we do see Russia, or any other nation for that matter, switch over to a true gold-backed currency, that will be just another blow against the dollar in this war of de-dollarization that we have entered into. And I suspect that it will also be very bullish for the price of gold and also for silver, really all the monetary metals and commodities, especially when you're talking about them being priced in dollars. Now, I do want to say, I know I've been covering Russia a lot in these videos lately, and I'm not trying to turn into like the Vladimir Putin news network here or anything. It just seems that a lot of the relevant news to gold and silver has been centered around Russia as of late. So, if that's bothering you guys, let me know in the comments down below. If there's something else you'd prefer I cover, do let me know. I've been getting some comments on these videos that are extremely pro-Russian, and that's okay, everybody's entitled to their view. I don't want to come across as being supportive of Russia or really any government in these videos, though. I'm trying to stay as unbiased as possible, and I do think that we have to be wary of putting Vladimir Putin or any other politician on some kind of a pedestal just because they speak honestly about the global financial system. This guy is still an ex-KGB operative. He's still waging a war of aggression against Ukraine. And, I know that that wasn't entirely without provocation, and there's something to be said for the Russian point of view as well. My point is that, in my view, none of these state actors have anything resembling altruistic motives. They're all just pursuing their own self-interest. And at the moment, both sides are playing a dangerous game of brinksmanship, and it's putting everybody's lives at danger. And, also that being said, I don't think there's really a lot we can do, at least in the short term, to change that situation, but there is a lot we can do to get prepared, and, we just have to try to sit back and enjoy our lives, but also prepare as best we can for what likely awaits us. So let me know in the comments down below what you're doing to get prepared. What do you think about the possibility of a Russian gold standard? What will be the effect on the price of gold and silver? And will we even see one? Or is this just the Russians blowing a lot of hot air? I'd like to know what you have to say, so let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more videos about gold, silver, what's going on in the world, then check out the videos that are popping up on your screen right now. And I will catch you next time. Thank you all very much for watching. Stay safe and happy stacking. Smart Silver Stacker, out.